Gear up for Sports Talk on the South Carolina Radio Network. It's your final word on sports all across the... Be a part of tonight's show. Call us at 800-956-7266 or email talkback@sportstalksc.com. Now here are your hosts, Phil Kornbluth, Kevin McCrary, and Tom Hayes.
Chris Silver's a sophomore, PJ sophomore, he didn't play. So now we get even younger because everyone else on our team is a first-year guy. And, we just weren't good. I wish I had a better answer.
Our players has got to get all the way there, and it's close. And there's a little bit of frustration, and there's a little bit of fatigue, or we're just at a point here where we're not quite where we need to be, both mentally and physically.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome into Sports Talk South Carolina Radio Network. We begin a brand new week with you here tonight all across the state. Hope you had a great weekend. So many things to talk about from over the weekend. Phil Kornbluth, Kevin McCrary, Professor Tom Hayes, Jar March, the award-winning Jared Rogers Martin, and Carson Mason, all here tonight working hard for you. 800-956-7266. The number. Email talkback@sportstalksc.com, on Twitter @SportsTalkSC. Follow us on our website. You can hear us there. You can watch us on our website, SportsTalkSC.com. Should you lose us over the airwaves for whatever reason, you want to stay with us, that's a good way to do it. You can also go back and look at previous shows, listen to previous shows that way. Well, I tell you what, guys, been a long time since I have sat back and seen a team just get thoroughly whipped like that team got whipped yesterday, just from one end to the other. Complete embarrassment for the organization. Of course, I'm talking about the Lakers losing to the Mavericks yesterday. K-Mac, I'd have to be just totally embarrassed to call myself a Laker.
Yeah, it wasn't a great day in the McCrary house. My wife is a fan.
Oh, I forgot about that.
Gone well for me for a while. It was really the beginning of the end. She was pregnant with our now 5-year-old when the Lakers and Mavs were meeting the playoffs. And I said, if the Mavs win, our daughter can be a Mavs fan. I was convinced the Lakers are going to win. Of course, they were swept away the championship. And now I have a 5-year-old Mavs fan and a wife Mavs fan, and the Lakers' worst loss in franchise history against the Mavs. But anyway, nobody cares about that, Corn. Nobody.
I knew my team was going to lose yesterday when we deferred after winning the coin toss.
That was it? You knew it?
I knew. I said, wait a minute. You cannot give them the ball first. You'll be playing from behind all day.
Yep.
And that's exactly what happened. Boom, ba-boom, ba-boom. Falcons score. We go down. Boom, ba-boom, ba-boom. Miss a field goal. All right. They go down. Boom, ba-boom, ba-boom. Kick a field goal. 10-0. We go down the field. Boom, ba-boom, ba-boom. About to score. And we fumble the ball away. And that was pretty much it. 17-0. And the route was on. And you give the Falcons credit. They were the better team. I tip my hat. When I lose, I like to lose big.
You could offer some alternate facts out here and say, the Packers dominated that game, period. The Packers went up and down the field on the Falcons. They were the better team, period. Anybody that says otherwise is just trying to delegitimize the Green Bay Packers.
I've always said,
period.
I'll always make that little trite statement that there's no difference between a close game and a blowout. And I knew the Falcons were going to try to blow out the Packers because of what happened to them the last time they were in the championship game in 2014 when they took a 17-0 lead at the half. But because of their slow linebackers and because John Abraham was out because of an injury, because he played in a meaningless game, they lost that lead and they lost. I knew if they had a chance to pour it on, it was like we can't let Aaron Rodgers even think.
It didn't matter.
He's got a chance.
It didn't matter. The Packers secondary is of talents right now, or good players who can play up to the level that is expected of them. They couldn't cover 4 jar marks out there, all right, running around in his soccer shorts. And it was pointed out by Troy Aikman that you had Julio Jones, the best receiver in football, being covered by a free agent signee who runs a 4.8. And here's Julio, who's about twice the guy's size, runs about a 4.4, doing anything he wants. The Packers were playing so soft and with the Packers defense, it's a hit or miss defense. You either get to the quarterback and force a play, force a mistake, or he picks you apart. And I don't even think they got a hand on Matt Ryan the entire game.
Yeah, I remember the Panthers tried to cover Julio Jones went for 300.
Yeah.
Now just think it. Let's just think if Julio
the Panthers
had
went with a rookie.
They went with Bernay Ben-Wickery.
Yeah,
he got cut that next day.
Then
they started a rookie.
And then, of course, if you think what happened if Julio didn't have that turf toe.
He always has turf.
The only hope we had was that somebody would step on that toe and call. Of course, the other guy was what's his name? Sanu. He's pretty good too.
The only people
and Patrick DeMarco. I mean,
didn't I tell you he was going to catch a
Of course,
pass?
he was wide open.
You,
he was wide open, and he just rambled, stumbled, bumbled for 40 yards. So anyway, congratulations.
Like, and you guys said I couldn't recruit, huh?
Well, I mean, perfect case of a guy that was not highly regarded as a high school football player, came in, did a nice job at South Carolina, and made himself a nice NFL player.
You got to have a Patrick DeMarco and you guys like that around a bunch of 4- and 5-star guys, which South Carolina also had. They had Marcus Lattimore, they had Clowney, they had Alshon, they had Garcia. They were pretty loaded with guys around DeMarco too.
But Cohen, it proves to you in this playoffs where people don't talk about certain guys and they can mean the world to you. I don't think Seattle's offense has been the same since they traded their all-pro center, Max Unger, to New Orleans for the tight end, Jimmy Graham. The Falcons go out and get a free agent, all-pro center, even though he had a broken leg the year before. They checked him out and say he's healthy. They signed Alex Mack from Cleveland. That solidified their offensive line, and boom, that offense has just taken off since then.
Oh, and by the way, the Patriots won too. So it's the Patriots and the Falcons. We get a team from the Deep South in the Super Bowl for the second year in a row. That's kind of nice. And we are before the Panthers. The state, I guess, those who weren't Redskins fans were Falcons fans. In our state pulls for the Falcons.
Nobody pulls for the Falcons. No, come on, Pro does. Yeah, Pro does. Yeah, Pro does. You guys. Yeah, now that they're good, I haven't seen you guys talk much about the Falcons since what 98.
But the
last time they went.
I
always like the Falcons.
That's always been the fashionable thing to talk about Atlanta fans, and we all know that Atlanta, first and foremost, pick your team, is a college football town. Any professional team, any Atlantan roots for first, is always going to be the Braves.
Well, we need to talk about the comments on our website directed at Kornblut for reporting the kid that decommitted from South Carolina.
Hams in the cereal dean.
Yeah, I'm glad he decommitted because I didn't want to say that name for years. But you're getting hammered here. Here's my favorite. I used to like this site, but it seems like old Corny gets off on bad news for Carolina. I will make a point to stop coming to the site and encourage others to do the same.
Did I put some smiley faces in the story or something?
Why do you take such joy at the misery of South Carolina Gamecock fans? When haven't they suffered enough?
I didn't realize I took joy. I just reported that the dude had. But here's the thing. I think we're one of the few to keep telling people this one wasn't over.
Yes.
Others had kind of written it off. Hey, he said he's solid with South. And you know what? I never really believed he was solid because of a couple of things. Number one,
the car.
Well, yes, he those of us who were waiting for him after his official visit, he snuck around us and took off. Number two, he never took phone calls anymore from South Carolina media. I can speak for myself. I know he didn't take any from me, and I don't think he talked to anybody else from South Carolina. And the fact that it was over. You have to consider whenever a kid is committed but still visiting and not coming out and saying I'm 100% and it's done, that he's still a possibility to flip.
You mentioned his dad as being a strong influence.
The dad, friends with Jay Graham, the recruiter from Florida State, who was from Concord High School. So he had some back channel connections who were in his ear.
Sad.
And Florida State's hard to beat head to head in recruiting. All right, we'll be right back. Okay, we're back at Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network. Open up the lines. 800-956-7266 is our phone number. Who's your pick for the Super Bowl, Falcons or the Patriots? Recruiting-wise, a complete report coming up. Most of the action right now in terms of the 2017 class around here focused on South Carolina because Clemson is really just waiting on one player at this time, Travis Etienne Jr., the running back out of Louisiana who was in this past weekend, just waiting on him to make a decision, which could come Thursday. Talking to his dad yesterday, his birthday is Thursday. He might visit LSU this weekend because of basketball. He's been to LSU a bunch. They really like Clemson, I'll tell you. They really like Clemson. They really like the new place that's about to open up there. And so we'll see what happens if indeed he decides here on Thursday and indeed it does come down to Clemson for him.
I need to put another reminder out to people listening. Do not tweet recruits. There's nothing more embarrassing than seeing adults on Twitter.
It is pretty embarrassing.
Tweeting at recruits, and God forbid one of them change his mind.
Get up off your knees. It's not becoming.
You're an adult. Somebody has to explain to me why that makes sense to tweet at a different school than the one you root for.
It's amazing how much, fans love a guy when he's committed to you, what a great player he's going to be, 4-star, 5-star, future's bright. And, when he changes his mind for whatever reason, what a dog. He probably couldn't get into school. Probably, talks back to his mom, all this kind of stuff. Give the kids a little bit of a break, will you? As we hit the last week of this particular recruiting class. We'll have a full recruiting report for you coming up. But, yeah, losing Nasir Ildeen, not good for South Carolina because, number one, is a very good player, Shrine Bowler, Under Armour All-American, or was it U.S. Army? U.S. Army All-American. And a very talented kid. He's a 6'4" safety. Those don't grow on trees.
I still say he's going to eventually grow into
technically no safeties grow on trees.
I think he's going.
Well, he could be. He could be a very talented guy, basketball player too. So that hurt South Carolina. There's no question about it. Now, the pressure on to hang on to Jamias Williams. And you see, this was, this last week is all about closing, who can close. It's all about perception of your program to some degree. When you lose players late, people think things are going poorly in your program. You got leaks in the boat, so to speak. So it's important for Muschamp and the Gamecock staff to hold on to Jamias Williams, who's committed but really not committed because he's seriously considering Georgia after visiting there this past weekend. He'll visit South Carolina this coming weekend. Big weekend for South Carolina. They got Jemiah, got Aaron Sterling coming in. They've got Javon Kinlaw coming in. And let's see, there is a fourth coming in. I'll have to look it up. But those are three pretty important prospects for them. I would think, as I sit here, I would think they're going to get Kinlaw. I think they're in good shape to get Sterling. Williams, I have the same feeling about him that I had about Hamza, Nasir Ildeen. There's just almost all of his public pronouncements have been with the Georgia media. I've seen nothing with South Carolina media unless you go to his school and talk to him. I'm not able to reach him. His coach isn't, really helpful when it comes to that kind of stuff. He's coming off a weekend where he was completely surrounded by, of course, Georgia players and also high school players from Georgia who are going to Georgia, who are friends of his, all trying to pull him to Georgia. Now, South Carolina gets the last shot, and they'll have to kind of undo whatever it was Georgia did this past weekend. But you're talking about a guy who's from Athens, who grew up close to the Georgia program, and it's hard to pull those good ones out of Georgia.
Well, here's the thing. If you're Will Muschamp, this is why he was hired, though. He was supposed to be the guy that closes on recruiting day, and that was his big pronouncement when he was hired. He said, take a look at my wife. Look at me. I can sell sand in the desert. Isn't that what he said?
I think he did.
Am I right? He said that.
But that doesn't mean you don't lose recruits.
Well, no, it doesn't mean you don't lose some, but I'll tell you, 4- and 5-star guys aren't going to be regularly decommitting from Florida State the week before signing day. So he's got to lock these guys down. He wasn't hired for his offensive prowess. He wasn't hired because he had a huge resume of success. He was hired because he said he could go in and recruit at South Carolina on a level they hadn't before. So he has to close here. He has to flip some guys. He's supposed to be the guy flipping. That was another nickname of his, Flipper. He goes in there and he flips guys. So if he loses his best two pieces in the final couple of weeks before signing day, again, we're going to have to block off the Gervais Street Bridge because people are going to be jumping off of the bridge.
I will also remind.
And Kornblut's going to be taking a lot of pleasure in it, apparently, according to our website. Takes great joy in South Carolina.
Smiley faces
next door. Smiley face emojis.
I will say this. This is why these guys earn their money, because Muschamp years ago flipped the top linebacker that South Carolina had at Virginia for almost the entire recruiting period. And then they turn around, and then the fans were moping and groaning. Oh, and they signed some kid out of Florida. What's his name? Sky Moore or something. I don't even know who this kid is. You know who he is now, don't you? Because guys are persistent. If you don't get the guy you thought you had, you better get out there and be persistent and find some players.
I've been corrected on Twitter. It was sell ice to an Eskimo. That's what.
No, I thought you had it right with the sand.
No, I think it was sell ice to an Eskimo.
Yeah, it is.
Okay. But regardless, he better start selling some ice to some Eskimos here over the next couple of weeks. Otherwise, he's going to be getting a frigid reception from Gamecock fans.
Ooh, well put.
That was amazing. I mean, it's a Monday. I'm really on top of my game.
Well,
tonight,
I tell you
guys.
what, I would rather get frigid looks from fans and then happy look and I win, rather than you being happy because I recruited somebody, because they still doesn't mean they can play.
The winning has to come first. I know that's hard to do.
Yes.
To get the talent, but you have to win first to attract the big time talent. They're just, unless they grew up, we'll use South Carolina as an example, unless they grew up a diehard South Carolina fan, they really want to go there. Like some of the Muschamp's first class, those guys obviously really wanted to go to South Carolina and are willing to kind of take a chance that he's going to win. But now, you gotta show big time winning to get these big time guys to commit and to stay committed. And maybe they're going to get there.
Unless you take the Ole Miss shortcut.
Well, there's ways to get around that. I don't think this crowd does that.
Are you saying go to the ATM and just fill up bags of cash?
Ding, 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 ding.
Leave them where they need to be left?
All right, we'll update some news in a moment. We'll get to recruiting as well. Now let's jump to the phones, 800-956-7266. Stephen in Columbia, listening to us on The Point, the new powerful FM blowtorch of Kevin Cohen's.
Hey, big guys, it's JC. Y'all hilarious to listen to. You know that?
How'd you go from Stephen to JC that quickly?
Well, I don't know, but I take it.
He's been holding a while.
Remember now, we have an award-winning, two-time award-winning producer who does not make mistakes.
Well, I enjoy listening to you guys. You make my night every night. You just don't know.
Thank you.
Hey, and I enjoy y'all's professionalism. I know y'all know more about football than I do. I mean, on the Super Bowl, I don't think it's going to be a game. I think first half is going to be over. I think Brady's going to give him another ring. So I'll leave it with you guys to talk on the other end, but I just don't see it happening against
well, I'll say this. The Patriots have a defense, and they have defensive backs who can cover, and they have a defensive front that can pressure. And Ryan's not, even though he ran a couple of times against the Packers, he's not ordinarily a really good runner. The Falcons did not get the running game going much against the Packers because they really didn't need to. So I don't know. I think I probably right now they're favored by what, three? Yeah, I would probably go with the Patriots and lay the points right now.
Did you see Robert Kraft after the game last night? How drunk was he?
Was he
on
drunk?
a scale of 1 to 10?
Was he drunk or was he?
He was around an 11.
I tell you what I like. I love Belichick. That he took the trophy and handled it like it was, a woman's pocketbook.
But here's
most people are holding a trophy up and they want to kiss it, and he just grabbed it
for JC. I want to tell JC this: there's only one man that's going to be on the field that's been in 3 Super Bowls in the last 4. That man is Dan Quinn, who was defensive coordinator at
He's
Seattle.
not playing.
He was working
and he had New England stopped. If
All right, Sports Talk here on a Monday night from downtown Columbia. Sports Talk, your Sports Talk show of Main Street, South Carolina, because we are on Main Street, Columbia. And we stretch from the coast to the mountains and all points beyond. 800-956-7266 is our phone number. Email talkback at sportstalksc.com and on Twitter at SportsTalkSC. If you'd like to join us, talk about the weekend football. Love to hear from you. Going to hear from Frank Martin coming up. Going to hear from Brad Brownell a little bit later on, too. A couple of quick notes. Martin said today that P.J. Dozier's just sore, getting over the back spasm that hit him on the way to Kentucky and was so bad he couldn't play in the game Saturday. They could have used him, no doubt about it.
Still growing.
I don't know. It's the first time he's had that issue. They don't think it's going to be anything that lingers. It's just a matter of hopefully he'll play tomorrow night against Auburn. Clemson, another tough loss for the Tigers last night. And they lose one at home to Virginia Tech. So this is really starting to take on the look of a dismal season for the Tigers.
And I had somebody reach out to me Friday before Clemson lost this game. And there's some chirping going on in the basketball circles now that Brad Brownell could be in a little bit of trouble up there at Clemson. New arena. They had Blossom game back. They had the transfers that were eligible this year. This was a team that people thought was going to be an NCAA tournament team. It's not happening. Hate it for Brad, but he's got to get it turned around. And when he's saying things like the want to isn't there where it needs to be and they're not playing defense, that's not a good sign. Those guys are not buying into whatever he's selling right now.
Well, you know, the tough thing
and that's
is,
called defense number one.
Yeah.
Yes,
they're not.
Yeah, because Virginia Tech, even though they did great passing on that offensive play, there's no way in the world you give that guy that open three that late. And that's what killed him. That open 3-point shot with about 50 seconds to go, that was the death knell.
All right, 800-956-7266. Give us a call. We'll jump you up on the show here. A couple of other notes. Got some important stuff here. David Hood at TigerNet reporting the Clemson board compensation committee met this afternoon, approved a 2-year, $250,000 contract for new defensive line coach Todd Bates. He comes on board as the Tigers are replacing Dan Brooks and Marion Hobby. And, of course, Dabo Swinney's already moved his defensive analyst, Mickey Kahn, into a full-time staff role, coaching the corners. And Bates was hired over the weekend. He's expected to be the defensive line coach for the foreseeable future. When a 10th full-time coach is added in April, it's expected that former Alabama standout and Lamonsky Hall will step into the role on the defensive line as well. Bates just finished at Jacksonville State. He was recruited at Alabama by Swinney. Go back to the Titans as a defensive end from 2005 through 2006. All right, so Todd Bates coming on board with the Clemson. I also want to mention here, Reggie Shaw, though I think it might be pronounced Reggie. We'll say Reggie. That's how it looks in spelling. Is leaving AC Flora and going to Burns, according to Pete Yanity at WSPA.
We don't think this is how you pronounce his name, but we're going to do it anyway.
Well, I've heard it both ways.
Well,
I've heard it Reggie Shaw, but it looks like Reggie.
Pretty sure it's Reggie. Coach
Shaw from AC Flora, according to Pete Yanity from a WSPA, going to Burns to replace Brian Lanco in 2006. Has done a very good job everywhere he has been, most recently at AC Flora, and he's going to step into a surprisingly rough situation at Burns in that they went 3-7 this year, missed the playoffs for the first 9.
You don't do that at Burns.
No, they're certainly in rebuilding mode. They do have 20 starters returning, and they're going to have a marquee game on September 1 against Don Bosco Prep out of New Jersey, according to Sir Yanity. Orange in the end zone, Pete Yanity. Basketball polls this week. USC in the AP poll stayed in at 23. In the coaches poll, stayed in at 24. Villanova is won by the AP. Kansas is won by the coaches. The RPI, USC actually went up to number 20.
Teams, including the top 5 team.
Yeah.
It's not surprising.
What a win by Vandy over the weekend at Florida.
Can we stay on topic?
Florida
Yes,
State
we
is
are.
too.
That's one
Clemson
of the teams they played.
Clemson is at number 48 this week, and the College of Charleston, which bounced back with a nice win over James Madison after losing to Will, number 66 this week. Baseball America preseason top 25 came out. Practice starts on Friday.
Practice?
South Carolina 5, Clemson 10, Coastal 15. So they're separated by 5s. 5, 10, 15.
Wow, you're all over this, Corn.
TCU, number 1.
Atlanta Education.
Followed by Florida State, Florida, then LSU, then USC, then East Carolina, Louisville, Cal State, Fullerton, Oregon State, and then Clemson. And the last thing I want to mention right now, NASCAR tonight set to unveil a series of changes to the format of the Cup Series races that will, it says here, vastly alter the process in which drivers are awarded points throughout races and the season. This was first reported by motorsport.com. And pretty detailed stuff here. I don't really understand it.
I didn't understand how they did it before.
Well, I kind of understood how they did it before, but in short, it says teams will know before the season begins how each race will be divided, which will be based on and track length. They're going to be dividing each race into segments, typically 3. At the end of each segment during a race, bonus points will be awarded for those drivers running in the top 10. At the end of the race, the normal points will be awarded to the finishing order of the race. So are they taking breaks during the race? Is that what I'm understanding here? That's what we'll see what comes out tonight. All right, back to the
NASCAR continues to die on the vine.
Well, I've seen a lot of reaction to this from NASCAR fans who are like, enough already.
They change.
You keep changing things every year on us here, and we can't keep up with it. And they're losing. I think they're losing people as a result. All right, back to the phones. We go to Joe in Florence. Hi, Joe. Welcome into Sports Talk. How you doing?
I'm doing well. I just had 2 comments. I would say that, of course, it does help to have somebody grow up loving the school to commit to. But also, you got to have the top athletes that, want to start their own thing. That's one thing they've promoted earlier with Spurrier, I think, in Carolina. And, be the first to do something. And so definitely South Carolina has a lot of firsts still out there that can be done. So I do feel like there are that type of recruits. You do have a lot of recruits that just like to go to the school that's already done it before. And sometimes that works out great for them. But then a lot of times, all they get is pine time, and eventually they may even transfer, and that happens in basketball. Seventh Woods went to his dream school, UNC, and pine time is definitely in his middle name lately. And who knows? Maybe he can be a Larry Davis and come back to Carolina and really light it up and head to the pros. And my second comment would be that, I do understand that it's a lot of pressure whenever these visits that the recruits go on, 17, 18-year-olds, and they're wined and dined and everything thrown up at them, and pictures with the uniforms, and they can get caught up in a moment, I guess. But they need to understand and look at what the word commitment means, and they ought to understand that character is based on word, and their word is basically a commitment. And they need to understand that if they're not sure, if they're not 100% sure and want to drop it down, then they shouldn't offer it, and the coach shouldn't accept it. And I'll just leave it to y'all.
All right, very good. Let's talk about that after the break, and we'll also get into our recruiting report as well. But you bring up, of course, one of the pet peeve topics that I like to
here it comes.
Kick around.
Here it comes.
So we'll be right back to do that.
3 schools in the Palmetto State are projected to do big things on the diamond this spring. Baseball America released its preseason poll Monday, and USC, Clemson, and Coastal Carolina all cracked the top 25. The Gamecocks finished highest, ranked at number 5, followed by Clemson at number 10 and Coastal Carolina at number 15. TCU is the number 1 preseason ranked team, with Florida State, Florida, and LSU rounding out the top 4. The Tigers, Gamecocks, and Chanticleers will begin their seasons on Friday, February 17th. For Sports Talk, I'm Carson Mason.
All right, we're back. Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network. Phil Kornblut, Professor Tom Hayes, K-Mac, Kevin McCrary, all happy to be with you. 800-956-7266, recruiting coming up in a little bit. Want to go back to the previous caller and his question that he brought up, and it leads me to, of course, some talked about many times on the show, so I'll bring it up again, and that is it's a broken system. It's really a bad system when you think about it. You're talking about, what, $1 billion plus industry that is college football. And process accumulating the talent you have to run your particular, let's just say, plant. Okay, every team is like a plant within the industry. The process of acquiring that talent to work for you is, well, it's a bad system. But then again, I don't know of an alternative. It's a bad way to do it, but it's the only way to do it, as I see it right now. You can't have a draft. It's not like the pro leagues where you can draft them.
So you want to repeal the system, but you don't know what you want to replace it with.
Sound familiar? That there's anything better. All I know is the system now, it works. I'm not saying it doesn't work, because it ends up with everybody getting, but the process of getting those people has a lot of flaws to it, as we well know. And it has to just go back to what the caller was talking about, trusting somebody, a man's word, a boy's word, a father's word. But the problem is that the coaches don't trust each other, and they're always, the belief is if you're not recruiting to the end, then you're not recruiting. Even when a kid tells you no, you keep. Now, I will say I can't cite particular examples here off the top of my head. There's been a lot of great play at South Carolina, Clemson over the years because they kept going after him after they said they were going somewhere else, and they were convinced to change their mind and come to South Carolina, Clemson, and they had great careers. So you benefit from it, and you lose as a result of it as well.
That's what I don't understand. Fans that get mad at a kid that commits and then decommits and goes to Florida State, but had it gone the other way and he decommitted from Florida State to South Carolina, oh, this guy, they wouldn't be going, you know what, you made a commitment to Florida State. You should go over there and play for the Seminoles. Don't do that.
Here's the question I have, or is it just perception?
Hang on one second.
We see less flipping in basketball than we do.
Well, they have an early signing.
I'm glad we played the Frank Martin comment that I sent to you over there. We got a comment from Frank Martin today that he made after he sat down. After he sat down and to talk to us today, and the first thing out of his mouth, yes, I have.
Oh, good. Well, here's the other thing, too. You talk about the kids. Everybody wants to beat up on the kids, but it is an adult-run business, as we know. And if we want these kids to keep their promises, maybe we shouldn't have adults working overtime to try to make them break those promises. Coaches could have the unwritten rule, look, we don't recruit kids that have committed to another school. We don't do that.
That won't happen.
Of course it won't happen. But when they do that and these adults flip a kid, they get in his head and say, look, it's a better situation here. We can get you the NFL. Whatever happens, we know that teenage boys aren't that hard to impress. And then he flips and fans are mad at the kid. The coaches are the ones that are flipping these guys.
All right, let me direct our award-winning producer here. Look in the Sports Talk audio folder. You see that? You see where it says Martin on recruiting? Martin, M-A-R-T-I-N. I see it in there. I see it in there. Now he sees it.
No.
That's a shame.
This is going to be awkward.
Okay, did you find it? Okay, anyway, here on air.
Outstanding.
On air, squabble.
Go ahead and fight.
Here is what Frank Martin had to say about he didn't mention it by name, but certainly he had the Hamza Nasir Ildeen flip-flop from USC to Florida State on his mind.
It's got to be a better life than having to cover the nonsense of committing and decommitting. That's why I don't – for those of you guys that I know have tried to figure out how I recruit, that's why I don't worry about early commitments. It's the biggest waste of time in the history of man. Yes, Phil. I comprehend. What a waste of time.
He was not saying I'm a waste of time.
No, I think he kind of was.
Is a waste. No, what happened was I raised my hand.
Is a waste of time.
He asked the question, well, why would anybody do this? Why would anybody cut? And once he paused, I raised my hand, and he called me, and I said, money. That's why anybody would do it. Money. In other words, the recruiting websites make a ton of money. And reporters who get paid by our organizations to cover recruiting, we get paid for it too. So it's money. It's all money driven. I mean, there's no
that. That he understood that.
Well, he says I comprehend that because he's money driven. Just every coach is money driven.
Oh,
but back to what I was saying. Back to what I was saying.
Umbrage to you saying he's money driven.
You know, if coaches would respect the word commitment, but coaches don't. And I mean, they don't respect the rules in that the NCAA has said you cannot offer a player before September of his senior year. You can't officially offer him. Okay, that's fine. Yet we all know that verbal offers go out 5 classes ahead of that. And if you're offering a kid in state, if he says, I'm getting an offer from South Carolina or Clemson verbally, and then time comes, he's ready to get his official offer and ready to commit or something like that, and you don't back it up and you don't stand behind it, you end up catching a lot of grief as a result of that. So they don't follow the rules to the letter and the intent of the rule, number one. And number two, they don't honor commitments to other schools by and large. Now, there is a way to fix that. And part of the problem is with the kid and the family and his coach. If you make a commitment and then you say, I am done. I am not talking to any other coach. I am not taking any other visits. I am not entertaining any other offers. That's a perfect scenario. The problem is that happens very little.
Very little.
And that's why you have a situation where, well, just this past weekend, I mean, besides Nasiril Dean, Tennessee lost a linebacker
to Georgia Tech.
Flipped to Georgia Tech.
Georgia Tech lost a kicker. A kicker decommitted from Georgia Tech.
Well, I mean, there you go.
A stinking kicker.
It happens, and it happens more frequently as we get closer to signing day. And sometimes, the schools bring this on themselves. I mean, I know South Carolina had a kid, Sean Smith, wide receiver from Brunswick, Georgia, who was committed, and they didn't honor his offer or his commitment. Now he's committed to Virginia. Keyshawn Bryan, we'll talk more about him later. Keep an eye on Keyshawn Bryan. That situation is not over, I don't think, with South Carolina just yet, from what I've been able to gather. And there's people on the inside reporting that they don't think South Carolina is going to take a running back, not going to take him. But I don't know. That might work out for him and South Carolina. He visited Pittsburgh this past weekend. He's going to Iowa this coming weekend. But from what I've gathered from contact, I think there's been contact with South Carolina, and there might still be something going on there. But anyway, that would be another one that has been committed that could end up going somewhere else if the school pushes him away. So it kind of happens both ways. To some, this is not a good way to do business, but I guess it's the only way to do business for colleges to acquire their talents.
To sum it up, humans do stupid things. I thought it was a discussion some time ago to narrow a guy's focus from 5 visits to only 3.
No, they haven't done that yet, and they probably won't. College sports does not ever reduce. They always are growing. They're adding another assistant coach. They're going back to 10 assistant coaches. So they feel like they're just got money to spend. All right, top of the hour. We'll be back.
Blasting me for not putting the. Come on, Corn. You know about that show folder. Yeah, maybe that's how we should get him on the phone.
Live from Columbia, this is Sports Talk on the South Carolina Radio Network. Be a part of tonight's show. Call us at 800-956-7266 or email talkback@sportstalksc.com. Now, here are your hosts for Sports Talk, Bill Kornbluth, Kevin McCrary, and Tom Hayes.
Okay, we're back. South Carolina Radio Network on a Monday night. Good to have you with us. Columbia USC's women's basketball team, ranked number 5, is playing number 4, Mississippi State, right now in Columbia. And it's the Bulldogs off to a 7-2 start on the Gamecocks. Keep a close watch on that for you. Duke and NC State playing at Cameron, 5-4 Duke, 3 minutes into that game. All right, to the recruiting report for tonight as we recap the weekend and look ahead to what's ahead this week. As you know, 2017 defensive back Hamza Nasir Ildeen of Concord, North Carolina, decommitted from the Gamecocks, and then he committed to Florida State. He had been committed publicly to the Gamecocks since August, but he took an official visit to Florida State in October. Publicly, he held to his commitment through his official visit to USC last weekend, but he never said he was shutting down the process. Florida State head coach Jimbo Fisher and recruiter Jay Graham were in for a visit with Nasir Ildeen this past week, and that decommitment leaves the Gamecocks with 22 commitments in their class. Offensive lineman Jordan Rhodes of Fairburn, Georgia, went to Mississippi State over the weekend. Official visit and commitment to USC. He enjoyed the visit. That included a meeting with the university president, but his commitment has not. She said he is committed to South Carolina 100%, but he is open for more official visits, and he might go to Missouri this coming weekend. He did enjoy Mississippi State, like the town, like Dan Mullen. He has already had his in-home with Will Muschamp and with Mullen. His Mississippi State recruiter is coming in Tuesday. USC's Eric Wolford will be in on Thursday. Again, he says he's 100%. Defensive end Devontae Wyatt of Decatur, Georgia, went to Georgia over the weekend with his parents and his head coach, USC. And he says he is still 50-50 between the Gamecocks and the Bulldogs. He will visit Florida this weekend. He talked last night with USC recruiter Travaris Robinson. He's expecting Kirby Smart to visit tomorrow and Will Muschamp on Wednesday. He made his official visit to USC last weekend. He did say he liked the South Carolina visit more. He said he got more attention from the Gamecocks. He'll be a National Signing Day announcement, and that will come out between 8 and 8:30 that morning. Clemson's only official over the weekend, running back target Travis Etienne Jr. of Jennings, Louisiana. Clemson only recently started recruiting him. He's a former Texas A&M commitment. Round with him on the visit. His father told us the visit went, he says they got a good coaching staff, and they were blown away by the new facility. And he said that his son interacted real well with the coaches and the players, and he enjoyed it. No decision has been made yet. His father said he may visit LSU this weekend, but the father said he's got it based in his mind on where he thinks he wants to go. He's missed a lot of basketball, the teams in the district playoffs, and he wants to help his basketball team. So he's not sure he's going to take that visit to LSU. He's been to LSU a bunch, and so he does want to catch up with some basketball, his father said. Etienne Jr. has also taken officials to Oregon and Tennessee, and if his son is settling in on a decision today, it could be something else tomorrow. He says he's kind of gone back and forth by the day or by the week on a decision. His birthday is Thursday, and the father suggested that he could announce his decision then instead of waiting till National Signing Day. Defensive back Mike Hughes of Garden City, Junior College, Kansas, was at USC officially over the weekend. Did not commit, but the visit pushed the Gamecocks deeper into the mix. He enjoyed himself. He liked how Muschamp emphasized team, with him being the dynamic player that he is, he said, and he could help in a number of areas. He was recruited by USC coming out of high school, though he never visited. And he said that coaches stood out to him, the atmosphere, the players. He got a chance to meet some of the players. He hung out with Jamarcus King and Tyshawn Williams. Now, of course, he was at North Carolina before. He had a legal issue there, an arrest for a misdemeanor assault charge last October that ultimately led to his departure. All of that's been cleaned up now, but the SEC has that rule, making it more difficult to transfer into the league who've been arrested for what the league calls serious misconduct, which the league has defined as, quote, sexual assault, domestic violence, or other forms of sexual violence. Hughes does not think that's going to be an issue with the Gamecocks, but it might be something that still has to be cleared up before he could transfer. He's also looking at TCU, Auburn, and Ole Miss, and not sure if he's going to take a visit this coming weekend. His issue that got him into trouble was a fight at a fraternity house on the Chapel Hill campus. Well, apparently he slugged somebody. Not a woman. It was a guy. It was a misdemeanor charge against him.
Oh, I thought that was.
Yeah, really. Go figure. He was a first-team junior college All-American last season. 47 tackles, 2 picks. Let's see. Aaron Sterling of Tucker, Georgia, who's visiting USC this weekend, told 24/7 Sports he's down to USC and Tennessee, dropping Georgia. He visits USC this weekend, announces on National Signing Day. A 2018 standout who visited USC on Saturday is Josh Belk from Louisville. He was one of a handful of juniors at USC. He's been there several times. Got a chance to look at what USC is about to build, its new operations center for football, the indoor practice facility. So he liked what he saw from that standpoint. He also met with Will Muschamp and the defensive staff, got more information on their plans for him if he were to join them in the future. They said he could play a 3 technique, 4 technique, basically moving around as they need. Junior day kind of visit for him. He'll go to Clemson this weekend. Ohio State, Virginia Tech, and Florida State are 3 out-of-state programs working him. As for USC and Clemson right now, he says neither has the edge on the other. Defensive back Jamias Williams, USC commitment from Loganville, Georgia, who visited Georgia over the weekend, will visit USC this coming weekend. He remains committed to South Carolina. He also tweeted a little while ago, attention, I will not be doing any interviews until February 1st after I make my final decision. That means he will not be talking, allegedly, after visiting USC this coming weekend. He has done some interviews with some Georgia media after red flags there. But we shall see.
But at least he's still taking the South Carolina visit. So
we think he is. Yes.
Get a shot.
We think he is.
Right.
Former Clemson running back commitment Cordarian Richardson visited Ole Miss over the weekend. Former USC commitment receiver Sean Smith of Brunswick, Georgia, committed to Virginia. Athlete Tansy Richardson of South Aiken will visit Kansas State and Indiana this week before making his decision. He had planned to announce on the 27th. He'll now wait till signing day. USC offered several players from high school in Orlando. Evan Banks, Jalen Joyner, defensive end, defensive back Imani and Stacey Kirby, 2019 offensive lineman Cameron Vaughn, and wide receiver Dominic Hill. Clemson last week checked in on tight end Chikosium Okongo of Powder Springs, Georgia. According to Diamond Prospects, Clemson picked up a commitment, a 2017 commitment from right-hander Connor O'Rear of South Aiken, and 2019 infielder Brennan Malone of Woodstock, Georgia, committed to USC Sunday night. See, that's all well and good, but you're not supposed to have an offer until your senior year, before you're going into your senior year, if you're following all the rules. The kids are getting these verbal offers, and they're committing on Twitter, and of course, we have to go by what they're saying. That goes back to the point I was making earlier. Mm-hmm. I mean, people don't respect the commitments. People don't respect the rules, and that's how the game of recruiting is played, and that's why it's basically out of whack. It's a circus, but it's a circus we love. And for some of us, we get filthy rich off of it.
Circus closing.
We get filthy rich by saying that player's a 5-star, and that player's a 4-star. And you, sir, you're only a 2-star, even though you've caught 4 touchdown passes against Alabama. make it. If you're following all the rules, the kids are getting these verbs Sunday night. See that? Oh, that's all well and 2019 infielder Brennan Malone of Woodstock, Georgia, committed to USC Sunday night. See that? Oh, that's all well and good, but you're not. Back we are, Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network. Good to have you with us on this Monday night. I want to remind you, whether you are a part of Gamecock Nation or you bleed Clemson Orange, everyone can agree on Founders Federal Credit Union, with Founders' newest office coming soon to the Commons at Bull Street in Columbia, and convenient Clemson office already in place. Founders is a sure fan favorite. Visit joinfounders.com to see if you qualify for membership. Founders Federal Credit Union, federally insured by NCUA. USC women closing the gap on Mississippi State.
16-15 at the end of the first quarter, Mid-State.
Yeah, I have full confidence in the USC women.
That's no
to
joke.
Win that game.
They're playing a higher ranked team.
Yeah, they are.
But they're at home.
To the CLA to take on Dawn Staley's women when they are fired up, rabid and ready to go, emotionally charged. This is something they're not used to at Mississippi State in Starkville. There's more people in that arena tonight than live in Starkville.
More people in this room.
Pretty much.
In Starkville.
Especially since Don Williams left Starkville. The population has dropped by 2.
Yeah.
All right, 800-956-7266 is the number. We go to Charles in Charleston.
Charles in charge.
Charles, how are you? Welcome into Sports Talk.
Good. How you guys doing?
Man, we're doing great. Thank you.
Great. The reason I called, I was talking about recruiting. A couple of years ago, it was a Wednesday evening. I was on my way to Bible study, and I pulled into the parking lot in my church's parking lot.
Mm-hmm.
And I was listening to you guys before we went into Bible study.
Mhm.
And you said, I'll never forget this. You said, Dabo Swinney in Clemson. And listen, I believe in the car to inside the church. Just thinking about what you said. I got to tell you, I'm not laughing anymore.
Yeah, he's laughing all the way to the bank, too. Yeah, I mean, following the Tigers recruiting, that they picked it up. When you think about it, you have to ask the question, how did they do it? Because think about it. Before they became a national power, going back when Dabo took over 8 years ago, they were an ACC team. They're an ACC team in the middle of the SEC country, more or less, surrounded by South Carolina, Georgia, Tennessee. The facilities were, not great. The housing quarters for the players were not good. So what could they sell? What could Dabo and his staff sell to these recruits? And what they could sell was a dream. And he sold them that dream and a dream and opportunity. And the dream was come play on offense, come play really fast, exciting football. On defense, come play eventually a physical, hard-nosed brand of football, especially once Venables got there. And dream about winning big, building big, and taking a championship. And he's been able to follow through on against some players, like Deshaun Watson, like Mike Williams, and on and on. The list is it's not endless, but it's long. The number of great players that they have snatched away from other states in particular, who have come in and become great players. And so, this is what schools have to do. This is what you have to do if you're a young coach, kind of unproven, and trying to build something. So it's what Kirby Smart's got to do at Georgia. It's what Will Muschamp's got to do at South Carolina. They got to kind of sell a dream. They got to convince these guys, hey, come on board with me and great things will happen. And Dabo, probably nobody, I've never been in the den with him making his pitch to a recruit. There's probably nobody better, because he knows what strings to pull. And now he's got the championship. He's got the brand. He's got the facilities, and great talent attracts great talent.
And I think your experience in life, wisely, you can use it in any walk of life. And Dabo had worked in real estate. And what do you do in real estate? Even if you're in commercial real estate, talking to a businessman putting a factory in your town, or if you're talking to someone who's buying maybe their first, second, or third home, you're also selling a dream. So those experiences he had in selling real estate, he used it to sell people on the dream of getting your education and enjoying playing the sport you love while you're doing it and winning a title.
And I'll tell you something else that has worked in his favor, and that is his openness to show his Christianity and talk about his Christianity and lead others about his Christianity. That has helped him recruit a lot of players and a lot of their families who feel the same way. And they feel very comfortable sending their young son to go and play for a man who shares their religious beliefs, not just Dabo, through that staff. I mean, it's pretty much the entire staff as far as I can tell. And we've seen the things that have happened at Clemson over the years, the baptism on the practice field and the church appearances that Dabo and others have made that get repeated on social media. And all that comes back into play when you're delivering your message, sitting at that dinner table with the family, and they want to trust you with their son. That's worked out very well for Clemson over the years under Dabo Swinney.
That's how they've landed guys like C.J. Spiller and Sammy Watkins. They can go down into Florida and cherry pick some of the guys that they want. And I've seen Dabo at basketball games. I've never been in a den, but you see him at those official visits at the basketball games, and he's usually not sitting next to the recruit. he's usually sitting next to a mom.
Mm-hmm.
And you win mom over, you're usually going to get that kid, and they're like very, very good at it. And
what else has helped them in the Fort Myers area, Fort Myers, Tampa, that area, the longstanding connections of Brad Scott to the high schools and the coaches in that area. He being from Florida State, his connections in the state of Florida ran deep and still to this day run strongly. And I'm sure that helps them when they go into that particular area of Florida, that panhandle area, and also that western part of Florida, where you would think it would be naturally Gator territory or Seminole territory, and get these players out of there. Company in Tennessee, they smacked the Vols 4 times in recruiting in this class. Now, one of them left, Cordarian Richardson, decommitted for whatever reason, but he's the best running back probably in West Tennessee, maybe in the entire state of Tennessee. But the Tigers got Hunter Johnson, who had been committed to Tennessee. All he did was come in for a visit to Clemson unofficially for a weekend and flipped. And then they go and get the 2 best receivers in the state of Tennessee. So that's power recruiting right there. That's really going in there and getting it done. And that's something that I'm sure the Tennessee staff is going like, how to happen under Philip Fulmer at Tennessee. I promise you he would have shut that down.
Yep.
How he would have shut it down, I don't know. But I can promise you that would not have happened with John Chavis and Philip Fulmer at Tennessee.
Well,
they would not be losing those kind of players to Clemson.
People won't talk about this,
Teflon, Tennessee.
But it's almost something that is innate in all of us, especially us growing up in the South, where parents will look at Clemson, and then they'll go into Knoxville, or even maybe Columbia, or even Gainesville. It's a little bit of a quiet town here. Less of my kid can get into trouble here.
That's not true. They get in trouble at Clemson. They can get in trouble.
But what I'm saying we're not talking about what's suggested when you just look at it.
Mm-hmm.
Suggest, it's not too much you can get in trouble here. Now, you get in that city, you have some problems.
Jemias Williams retweeted my retweet of his No More interview.
Yeah.
Does that count as an interview?
I put the plot thickens, and he retweeted and liked it.
That means he's paying attention.
He's a listener. Hi, Jemias. Good to hear from you. All right, we'll be back in just a moment. More of your phone calls to Sports Talk Monday night.
little bit of more of the same. Little bit of more of the same.
And we're back. Sports Talk South Carolina Radio Network, 800-956-72 number. Email talkback at sportstalksc.com, on Twitter at SportsTalkSC. And we got some good stuff coming your way here in just a moment. As far as comments from Frank Martell, NASCAR just putting out the information here about its plans for this coming season. So today, NASCAR announced competition format enhancements for all its series, all three series. The new race format designed to emphasize aggressive racing and strategy with the goal of delivering more dramatic moments over the course of a race and season. Under the new format, races will consist of 3 stages. Championship implications in each stage. The top 10 finishers in each stage will be awarded additional championship points. The winner of the first 2 stages of each race will receive 1 playoff point, and the race winner will receive 5 playoff points. Each playoff point will be added to a driver's reset total following the 26th race if that competitor makes the playoffs. The structure also ensures that competition will be dialed up throughout the duration of the 26-race regular season, as points for both stage winners and race winners will transfer into the postseason. And an official regular season champion will be crowned and rewarded with 15 playoff points to the driver's playoff reset of 2,000. The stage format also gives fans a pair of natural breaks in the action.
Okay.
Natural breaks in the action.
So it's going to be like the All-Star.
So is it going to be like timeouts? We're going to have timeouts in NASCAR now in racing?
How would you
This
go?
is pretty drastic.
Yes.
Yeah.
This is completely changing the sport.
Yes. That is indeed changing. We have to.
I'm telling you,
We're going to have to dial up KT tomorrow night. A little early taste of Kerry Tharp.
Do we go with 2 tires now, or do we wait till the next natural break?
Yeah, This story I've got to read. I'm not going to waste any more of your time right now till I find out more about it.
Because nobody understands it.
This natural break thing is I don't get it. I have to figure that out.
Sounds unnatural.
Quickly back to the phones we go. Towns in Greenwood. Hello, Towns. How are you?
Hey, I'm good, guys. How are you?
Terrific.
They asked me what I wanted to talk about, and I said, well, game cards, basketball, football. So let's start with Clemson's recruiting. I couldn't agree with. I will point out that when you talk about Dabo, yeah, he goes in, and I think before he starts talking about how great Clemson is, he says, let's pray a little bit about where Jesus wants us to go, and he he plays that religion card. Nothing wrong with that. He's a good Christian, and that's fine. Spurrier never did it. Spurrier's daddy was a preacher. But Spurrier didn't see where – Spurrier always referred to when Carolina came out with 11-win seasons, the football gods were kind to the Gamecocks today.
But see, there's a difference. Here's the problem with Spurrier.
Dabo goes, God is a Clemson fan.
Here's the problem, though. Spurrier thought he was God. So, I mean, you're going to get down on a knee and pray to me while I'm there with you? I mean, that's just not going to work.
Well, if you start trying to compare their play calling abilities, then, Spurrier may have had an upper hand. But when it comes to recruiting, Dabo's the best. I concede that. And I'm not trying to demean what he's done.
Mm-hmm.
I will tell you this. He was handpicked by Terry Don Phillips, who saw what he wanted and needed to lead Clemson to where they are now, and that is a CEO, not a football coach that knew a damn thing about offensive play calling or defensive schemes, okay?
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't. But he's got people that do. And Clemson's paid them $1 million, $2 $1 million, 3 offensive and defensive coordinators to come in and do that. And they've kept their coaches by paying them second in the country only to Alabama in their staff salaries to keep coaches there. It's smart, man. I'm not knocking them. I'm just saying you got to be willing to spend the money. Listen, they've got a brand new $500,000 facility that has 12 bowling lanes, a 24-seat TV facility for it's not a TV, it's a movie theater.
Mm-hmm.
For the kids to come in. It's great.
This is where?
At Clemson. It opens this spring.
No, it's not. Well, it's not 12-lane bowling. It's a 2-lane bowling alley.
Okay, 24-seat. You're going to dispute me on the 24-seat?
Well, that I don't know. I only mentioned that because I just was reading up on it, and I think it's a 2. What I read was a 2-lane.
But you know what? The miniature golf course.
But I understand
there's not
what you're
one
saying.
Windmill on that miniature golf course.
Not one windmill.
Not one. And
Yeah,
that's a real.
but there is a clown's mouth.
But here's one thing they don't have just yet. It's called a cloning lab. You can't get the DNA from Deshaun Watson and create another Deshaun Watson. That you can't do.
Well, I don't know. I mean, if you go by what you read, Cooper is supposed to be very, very, very good, and then the 2018 commitment is supposed to be like, I mean, Peyton Manning, Brett Favre, Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady, all kind of rolled into one. Yeah, Matt Ryan, him too. In other words, he's supposed to be like the next great thing, the guy from Cartersville, Georgia. So will there be another Deshaun Watson? No. But it'll be the next Zarek Cooper, or there'll be the next Hunter Johnson, perhaps, or the next Trevor Lawrence. I mean, it is ridiculous how deep they are at quarterback. Their problem is going to be figuring out how to keep everybody happy. How do you keep those studs happy?
You can't.
They have to be all in.
Well,
they have to put their chip in before the game.
That's what he'll
and
ask
if they
them.
don't put their chip in, then
that's what he'll ask
they
them.
can go play with Chad Kelly somewhere.
All right, before we hit the break, the Tiger basketball team lost last night to Virginia Tech. Close game at Littlejohn, but another disappointing loss. Here is some of what Brad Brownell had to say after that loss.
A little bit of more of the same. I thought our team played really well offensively again. We've done that here at home quite a bit, 81 points, shot a great percentage, 22 assisted baskets. Made 13 threes, only had 9 turnovers, just about everything you would want offensively, a lot like the Virginia game. Just defensively, we're just not getting enough stops. And again, some of that credit goes to Virginia Tech. I think they can really spread you out because they've got 4 3-point shooters on the floor almost at all times, 2 point guards that really handle it, make good spark, even though he's not a guy who shoots the ball, just is a good player and makes good decisions most of the time. So it was just a difficult loss. And again, give Virginia Tech credit kids for making big free throws down the stretch. Seth Allen with a huge shot. They did just enough to win the game.
So disappointing loss for Brad Brownell and the Tigers. That was one that they had to have. That was one that they had to have to break the losing streak. They were playing at home. Now they've got to go up to Pittsburgh, where the Panthers have been struggling. This is a winnable game on the road, considering how Pittsburgh's been playing. But then again, Pittsburgh's going to feel like, hey, we've got a chance to win one at home. And then the Tigers after that will get Georgia Tech at home on signing night. Then they go to Florida State. So they have got, they don't have many winning chances here in the next few quarters coming up at Miami. Yeah, the road ahead for them looks very, very difficult in trying to turn this thing around and make something out of this season. All right, we'll hit a break and we'll come back with some comments from Frank Martin about the Gamecocks getting ready for Auburn tomorrow night. By the way, our poll question on our website, SportsTalkSC.com, if you haven't checked it out yet, you need to get over there and do so. It's your chance as a fan to interact in the recruiting process. Will USC hold on to Jamiest Williams? And don't call him Jamiest. Will USC hold on to race right now? So far, 4 or 5% say the Gamecocks will hold on. 49.55% say they will not. I think South Carolina's got a distinct edge in this voting because I don't think Georgia fans listening to us, most of them don't own a laptop or a computer to be able to participate in the voting. So, and they I don't know, their education level I don't think was going to lead them to be able to distinguish between
this guy is an elitist.
Yes and no. But anyway,
just
for those who can,
I called him something else.
For those who can, go to our website,
Americans.
SportsTalkSC.com, and vote. USC women getting hammered right now by Mississippi State. Not hammered like they're at 5 points, hammered by the Mississippi State Bulldogs.
I wouldn't call 7 points a hammering.
35-28. Okay, so they cut it down a little bit. Well, last time I looked up.
You just take such glee in anything bad that happens to South Carolina, Warren. You just
come on, Matt.
You can't even.
You're falling into that
period.
You're falling into that trap.
The media is just.
How about this?
It's disgusting what we're seeing with today's media.
Is getting awful. NC State is getting 43-32. Am I happy that NC State is losing?
That's only a
big margin.
Point game.
Frank Martin today met with his good friends from the media, as he does on Monday, to talk about not so much about Kentucky, but to update P.J. Dozier and to talk about the Auburn game coming up tomorrow night, another 6:30 tip at the CLA. Here is Martin talking to us about the Dozier situation and more.
Frank, how's PJ's back? Do you have an update for tomorrow night?
He's past pain. He's more in soreness. You know, anytime your muscles spasm, it's just one big knot. And, you know, the pain of those knots are gone, but your muscles doing that for a long time, it gets real sore. So he can move. We're going to try and do some stuff today and see how he reacts. And, you know, but he's been just nonstop treatment here for the last 48 hours. So, you know, the goal is to get him on the court tomorrow night.
In regards to Auburn, a bunch of freshmen, obviously, I think their top 4 scorers now are all either freshmen or redshirt freshmen. What do you see from them? Specifically, a couple of kids who've come in as the first 5 stars that that program's ever had.
Very, very talented team. Very talented team. Very athletic. I don't like speaking for other coaches, but it just appears Bruce is really, really enjoying coaching this team. Can really, really score. They're not bad defensively. They're just young. So they, you know, there's certain things that they do defensively that sometimes. But you're talking about a team that's won, I think, 13, 14 games so far. Played a pretty darn good schedule if you see the teams that they've played. Very talented team. Plays hard, offensively. They have a lot of – you got to remember that they've won 13, 14, whatever it is, without their starting center in the lineup until the middle of December. And he's a load. Wiley's going to be he's already a real good player. As he continues to understand how they play, he's only going to get better. But it's got a fun team. I'm not too excited about having to play against those guys for the next 12 years, whatever it is. It's they're extremely talented. I'm happy we play here and not there. You know, they've created an unbelievable home court environment at Auburn. That arena's just jam-packed, and they've got real good players right now.
All right, Frank Martin from earlier today, and he went on to say about P.J. Dozier that it should not be anything that hinders him through his career, just kind of maybe just a one-time thing where the back just tightened up on him and caused him a great deal of pain, but there's no structural issue there. and he's just getting treatment, and he should be fine. The latest bracketology from Jerry Palm has South Carolina. This will be kind of neat if it comes to pass, as a number 7 seed facing Kansas State, the number 10 seed in Orlando, in round 1 of the NCAA tournament, opposite Florida State and Belmont. He's got Winthrop, seed, playing Oregon in.
Oh my goodness.
And no Clemson in this particular. Now, Clemson had been hanging in there in the brackets, but too much losing here of late.
Yeah, 1-6 in the league.
Too much losing. I'm just double checking here. Tigers are not in this particular bracketology. Last 4 in, here we go. California, Wake Forest, Iowa State, Texas Tech. First 4 out, Miami, NC State, Memphis, and Clemson. So 3 ACC teams among his first 4 out. Of course, for the most part, the great teams are set. You know they're going to be there. Just a matter of where they're going to be on the board. But there's no guarantee, even at this point, for a South Carolina, a team like that, a Virginia Tech, teams like that still have to win their way into the tournament, so to speak. They still have work to do. Now, South Carolina against Auburn, you can't take anything for granted, but assuming P.J. Dozier can play, the Gamecocks have, I think, a good chance here. What's interesting is they're playing Tigers 3 straight games, Auburn, Missouri, and LSU. So I would think, and one of those is at home. Yeah, I would think that they should beat Auburn tomorrow night and then win one of those next, at least one of those next 2, maybe both. But certainly Missouri is really struggling. That's the kind of road game that you have to go and get.
You can't lose.
Yeah, you have just got to go and get it. And LSU is struggling as well. It's not like LSU's lighting it up either. Both of these teams, LSU and Missouri, they're the last 2 teams in the league combined. They're 1-12 in league play.
It's not so much of a hard coincidence to figure out that neither one of them have an established point guard. And that's one of their problems. For South Carolina, I tell you what, if you just give a little help around Sindarius Thornwell, I thought about this last night watching him play Kentucky. He's not going to win it, but it would be a travesty if he doesn't get votes for Player of the Year in the conference.
Yeah.
I mean, he was absolutely.
Listen, those votes were cast back in October for anybody from Kentucky.
Exactly.
Just pick your Kentucky guy, and he's whoever will be the league MVP. But you know what? If you're going to lose to Kentucky, time to lose, because Florida lost, Alabama lost, Georgia lost. All the teams right behind South Carolina in the standings lost. So, you know, you went in knowing it was going to take a minor miracle to beat Kentucky, so it didn't happen. But you hold on to second place, and now you want to stay in that top 4, obviously, so you can get that first day bye at the SEC tournament. That is such a big bonus if you can get that.
Well, you still would have loved when they cut that lead to 3 in the second half, if Dozier had been, hey, my backfield's fine. I think I'll go in and play these last few minutes. But you're right. That is why this game against Auburn or any game is dangerous, because I would think any Florida fan worth his salt, not the players, but their fans, would have thought anything that Vandy would just sneak into town and win that game.
Yeah. You could really see in the game, though, how far South Carolina's young big people, how far they have to come to get to I'm not going to say the elite level where Kentucky's players are, but just to get to the competitive level.
Yeah.
And they've got to get Dwayne Notice going. The guy's been in a prolonged slump. He needs to start making shots.
Why don't they take him off the best ball handler? See, he's playing defense too hard.
He's contributing in other ways, Corn.
That'll do it. Have a good night. See you tomorrow. He
No,
thinks
he
you're.
didn't DM me. He like.
Oh, he
took
texts you on your phone.
because
Oh,
he has
okay,
my phone
okay,
number.
okay.
Since I called him.
Ask him. Let's see. He's been to Pitt. Are you taking any visit this weekend?
Okay.
And are you still hearing from South Carolina? And what coaches are coming in to see you this week?
Okay. Okay.
And don't make any typing mistakes.
Of course. I won't. Typing.
Getting you ready for, hey, look, you think we're tough. Wait till you get in that major league locker room after a guy struck out 3 times and you walk up to him and you say, hey, Pedro,